And unfortunately, we've just not been able to fit it into either your schedule or my schedule until now. And actually, it's a very good opportunity, and I'm delighted to be able to see you today.
As you say, all of this goes back to your friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. How did you first become friends? How did you meet?
They called him the Queen's favorite son, but that title didn't save him. The downfall of Prince Andrew began with a scandal so explosive it shattered the image of the British monarchy. The shocking revelations exposed powerful connections and dark secrets that left royal supporters stunned. As the truth spread online, disbelief turned into outrage, and the once respected prince became a national disgrace. What really led to his fall from grace? And why has the world turned its back on him? Join us as we uncover the scandal that ruined Prince Andrew forever. The photos that changed everything. It all began with one photograph, a simple picture of Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein walking together in Central Park. The year was 2010, and at first glance it seemed quite harmless. But there was a problem. Epstein had just finished serving time for sex crimes that involved a minor. That single image soon ignited one of the biggest scandals to ever hit the British royal family. By early 2011, the headlines grew louder and damaging. Several reports revealed that Andrew had stayed at Epstein's expensive homes in Florida and Manhattan long before the financier's second arrest. The public was outraged that a senior royal would remain close to a convicted sex offender. Then came another shocking twist. Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife, had accepted a $24,500 loan from Epstein. Even more unsettling, the payment had reportedly been arranged through Andrew's own office. Sarah quickly issued a public apology, expressing deep regret and insisting she would repay every cent. She said she felt ashamed and wanted nothing more to do with Epstein. But the damage was already done. The royal household was in crisis mode. By July 2011, Andrew's career took a major hit. He was forced to step down as the UK's trade envoy, a prestigious role he had held for nearly 10 years. What had once been a quiet friendship had now become a public scandal with no sign of slowing down. Then, in 2015, the story exploded again, this time with far more serious claims. A woman named Virginia Giuffre, then Virginia Roberts, came forward in court documents, accusing Epstein of trafficking her for sex when she was a teenager. She said she was 17 years old when Epstein allegedly forced her to sleep with Prince Andrew on 3 occasions, in London, New York, and on Epstein's private Caribbean island. According to the legal filings, Virginia claimed Epstein instructed her to give the prince whatever he demanded and report every detail afterward. The accusations were shocking, and they instantly made international news. Buckingham Palace responded quickly, dismissing the claims as completely false. Still, the story wouldn't go away. Later that same month, Andrew appeared at the World Economic Forum in Davos, hosting a reception attended by hundreds of business leaders. When he briefly addressed the controversy, his words were brief and controlled. He told the crowd that his attention remained on his professional duties, refusing to be drawn into further discussion. But behind the palace walls, panic was growing. For the first time, a senior member of the royal family had been directly linked to a sex trafficking investigation involving a convicted predator. The allegations threatened not only Andrew's personal reputation, but also the image of the monarchy itself. In April 2015, a Florida judge reviewed the case and ruled that the sexual misconduct allegations involving Andrew were lurid and unnecessary to the Epstein civil suit. While that decision spared the prince from legal involvement at the time, it did little to clear his name in the court of public opinion. The whispers and suspicion continued, and his image as the Queen's favorite son began to fade. For a man born into privilege and protected by the walls of Buckingham Palace, the fall was staggering. But the scandal was far from over. What was the discovery that totally turned the tides against Prince Andrew? The interview that ended it all. When Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell in August 2019, the world demanded answers. But no one faced more pressure than Prince Andrew, whose long friendship with the disgraced financier had already placed him under intense public scrutiny. To calm the storm, Andrew agreed to what he described as a no-holds-barred television interview with the BBC's Newsnight.
I've never really felt the need to go and party, and certainly going to Jeffrey's was not about partying. Absolutely not.
It became one of the most disastrous interviews in royal history. Sitting across from journalist Emily Maitlis, Andrew tried to defend himself and explain his past connection to Epstein. It was a friendship that had begun in 1999. During the conversation, he admitted that continuing his association with Epstein after his conviction for soliciting a minor had been a serious mistake. He said he regretted it deeply and often blamed himself for not ending the friendship sooner. He admitted that his actions had not reflected well on the royal family and that he had, in his own words, let the side down. But when the topic turned to Virginia Giuffre, the woman who claimed Epstein had trafficked her to the prince, Andrew's answers only made matters worse. He insisted that he had no memory of ever meeting her, and that the alleged encounters never happened.
I mean, it was horrible, and this guy was sweating all over me. Like, his sweat was like, it was raining basically everywhere, and I was just like, what? Grossed out from it. But I knew.
He even cast doubt on the authenticity of a widely circulated 2001 photograph showing him with Virginia and Ghislaine Maxwell, suggesting it might have been doctored. As the interview continued, his comments grew even stranger. When asked about Virginia's claim that he had sweated profusely while dancing with her in a London nightclub, Andrew responded that it couldn't have happened because he had a medical condition at the time that prevented him from sweating. He also stated that one of the alleged meetings couldn't have occurred because he had been home with the children that night. The hour-long interview was meant to clear his name. Instead, it destroyed what little public trust he had left. Viewers were stunned by his lack of empathy for Epstein's victims and his apparent detachment from reality. Within hours, the backlash was overwhelming, not just from the public, but from within the royal household itself. The interview, which had reportedly been approved by Queen Elizabeth II, backfired spectacularly. Days later, Andrew released a formal statement announcing that he would step back from royal duties indefinitely. He acknowledged that his past association with Epstein had become a major disruption to his family's work and to the organizations and charities he represented. He said he had asked his mother, the Queen, for permission to withdraw from public life, and that she had agreed. That single BBC appearance was the official end of Prince Andrew's public career. Once a respected naval officer and active royal, he became a symbol of scandal and poor judgment. His patronages and honorary military titles were gradually stripped away, and his presence at royal events all but vanished. Years later, the fallout from that night was still being felt, not just by Andrew, but by the monarchy itself. In 2024, Netflix released Scoop, a dramatized retelling of the events leading up to the now infamous interview. The film offered a behind-the-scenes look at how the BBC secured the royal sit-down and the chaos that followed. Gillian Anderson portrayed Emily Maitlis, while Rufus Sewell took on the role of Prince Andrew. The movie showed how what was meant to be a moment of transparency turned into a turning point in modern royal history. What was supposed to restore his reputation instead sealed his fate. The no-holds-barred interview became a PR disaster. Stepping down from his role might have seemed like the perfect decision to make everything die down. But did it? Stripped her son of royal power. In January 2022, Buckingham Palace made a shocking announcement that marked a turning point in royal history. Queen Elizabeth II, with the agreement of senior members of the royal family, stripped Prince Andrew of all his royal and military titles. The decision came at the height of the sexual assault lawsuit filed against him by Virginia Giuffre, and just one day after a judge refused to dismiss the case. The statement from the palace was brief but powerful. With the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen. The Duke of York will continue not to undertake any public duties and is defending this case as a private citizen. It was a quiet yet decisive move, signaling that even the Queen's own son was not immune to the fallout of scandal. Behind palace doors, the matter had reportedly been widely discussed among senior royals, including Queen Elizabeth herself, King Charles, and Prince William. Each knew the gravity of the situation. The monarchy's reputation had already been bruised by the Epstein connection, and continuing to link Andrew's name with royal duties was no longer an option. As a result, while Andrew retained his title as Duke of York, he was forbidden from using His Royal Highness in any form, echoing the treatment of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle after their decision to step down from official duties in 2020. It was a public fall from grace for a man once considered one of the Queen's most trusted sons. For decades, Prince Andrew had carried out royal engagements, represented Britain abroad, and served in the Royal Navy. Now, he was left to live as a private citizen, distanced from the ceremonial life that had once defined him. Yet despite the scandal and his stripped status, Andrew remained a visible, if subdued, figure during family occasions. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September 2022, Andrew took part in her funeral proceedings. Unlike his siblings, he wore a simple black suit instead of a military uniform, a visual reminder of his lost military honors. The only exception came during the final vigil, where he was permitted to wear his naval attire as a mark of respect for his mother. It was a poignant image, the once proud prince standing in silent tribute, his uniform now symbolic of both service and disgrace. Months later, in May 2023, Andrew attended the coronation of his elder brother, King Charles III. Though he played no formal role in the ceremony, his presence was impossible to ignore. Dressed in blue robes with a red sash, he took his place among the gathered royals, a quiet participant in a grand royal event from which he had been effectively exiled. His attendance reflected an uneasy balance between familial duty and public disapproval. Despite his reduced role, Andrew continued to appear at certain family gatherings. He was seen at Christmas celebrations in Sandringham in December 2022 and again at the traditional Easter Sunday service in Windsor in April 2023. These rare appearances suggested that while his royal career had ended, his place within the family, at least privately, remained intact. Yet, for many observers, the damage was already done. The Queen's decision to strip her son of his titles was both historic and heartbreaking, showing her unwavering commitment to preserving the dignity of the crown, even at great personal cost. For Prince Andrew, it marked the end of his public life and a permanent reminder that no one, not even a prince, stands above accountability. What were the details of the lawsuit that turned out to be a nightmare for Andrew and the royal family? The life-changing lawsuit. In August 2021, Virginia Giuffre filed a lawsuit against Prince Andrew in New York under the Child Victims Act. Her statement struck a chord worldwide. She declared that she had been trafficked to and abused by Andrew, and that she was determined to hold him accountable. The powerful and rich, she said, are not exempt from being held responsible. At the virtual hearing a month later, Andrew's lawyers dismissed the claims as baseless and unlawful. But the case took a sharp turn when his legal team tried to use a 2009 settlement between Giuffre and Epstein to get the lawsuit thrown out. The $500,000 agreement had supposedly protected other potential defendants, but the judge saw things differently. The motion was rejected, leaving Andrew facing the possibility of a trial that could shake the monarchy's image even further. By February 2022, a quiet settlement was reached. The terms were never made public, yet the agreement seemed to close one chapter of a deeply unsettling saga. But the story carried a haunting final note. Virginia, the woman who had stood up to immense power, was reported to have died by suicide in 2025. It was a tragic end to a story that had already left the world questioning where justice truly lies. But now, the posthumous memoir by Virginia Giuffre, Nobody's Girl, has pulled the curtain back in a way that leaves little room for mystery. What it reveals could change how the world sees the once powerful Duke forever. Virginia's memoir, released months after her tragic death, painted a disturbing picture of a teenage girl trapped in Epstein's world of wealth and exploitation. In its pages, she described being groomed and trafficked by Epstein and Maxwell to influential men, one of whom she claims was Prince Andrew. The revelations are as unsettling as they are explosive. She recalled meeting Andrew at Maxwell's London home in 2001, a night that, according to her, changed her life. Virginia mentioned she was told she'd be meeting a handsome prince, unaware of what that meant. She claims Andrew greeted her warmly but soon behaved in a way that left her frightened. The details she shared drew readers into a world few can imagine. That alleged encounter was only the beginning. Virginia wrote that she was trafficked to Andrew 3 times in total, in London, New York, and on Epstein's private island. Each time Maxwell arranged the meetings, he usually told her she was doing a favor. Virginia also described moments when Andrew allegedly made comments about her age, saying she looked younger than his own daughters, words that still haunt the pages years later. Andrew, of course, denied everything. He insists he never met Virginia, despite that infamous photo showing him with his arm around her waist. He's called the allegations false and without foundation, even as he quietly reached a legal settlement in 2022. Though the settlement contained no admission of guilt, it did little to clear his name. What makes this moment different is that Virginia's words now carry a haunting weight. She's no longer alive to defend them, yet she made sure her story would not be silenced. Before her death, she reportedly insisted that her memoir be published no matter what happened to her, and that wish has now been fulfilled. The memoir's timing couldn't be worse for Andrew. As fresh investigations swirl around Epstein's wider network, questions are resurfacing. What did Andrew know? How much was he involved? And why has the royal family stayed so silent? Behind palace walls, it's said the tension is palpable, a mix of fear and the desperation to contain the fallout. But public opinion is shifting fast. Once shielded by royal privilege, Andrew now stands at the center of a story that refuses to fade. His name, once linked to royal duty and prestige, now echoes in the same breath as one of the most notorious scandals of the modern era. What was the final move made by Prince Andrew that quietly admitted his guilt and years of service public deception? The final step. By late 2025, Prince Andrew's royal downfall had reached its final chapter. Years of scandal and public scrutiny tied to his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein had taken their toll. After more than a decade of denials and strained royal appearances, the man once known as the Duke of York decided to walk away from his remaining honors, closing one of the most controversial chapters in modern royal history. The latest turn began in early 2024, when unsealed court documents from Epstein's old cases once again placed Andrew's name in the spotlight. Despite mounting pressure from the public and anti-monarchy activists calling for a deeper investigation, British authorities made their stance clear. No investigation has been launched, the Metropolitan Police stated in January 2024. emphasizing that only new evidence could reopen the matter. The announcement quieted legal speculation, but not the public's curiosity. For Andrew, the shadow of his past association with Epstein proved impossible to escape. Every royal event, every family gathering seemed to bring the same question. Could the monarchy ever fully distance itself from the scandal? The answer arrived in October 2025. On October 17th, Buckingham Palace released a formal statement that marked a new chapter not only for Andrew, but for the monarchy itself. In the message, the former Duke of York announced that he would no longer use his royal titles or honors. In discussion with the king and my immediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. His statement read, "I have decided, as I always have, to put my duty to my family and country first." It was a carefully worded message, one that signaled defeat. Andrew reaffirmed that he still denied all accusations tied to Epstein, but acknowledged that his presence had become a burden to the crown. With His Majesty's agreement, we feel I must now go a step further, he continued. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honors which have been conferred upon me. For a man who once stood as one of Queen Elizabeth II's most visible sons, a decorated Navy veteran and proud royal, the decision carried deep symbolic weight. After years of denying wrongdoing, fighting lawsuits, and stepping back from public duties, Andrew was no longer Prince. He was now simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. 2 weeks later, Buckingham Palace confirmed the change. On October 30th, the palace issued a brief but striking statement. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. The announcement also revealed that he would vacate his long-held residence, the Royal Lodge, and move into private accommodation. The era of His Royal Highness, the Duke of York, was officially over. For nearly 4 decades, Prince Andrew carried the title Duke of York with royal pride. Now 65, Andrew lives a far quieter life. Once seen at official events and international gatherings, he's been largely absent from the royal spotlight. His public role is gone, his honors erased, and his reputation permanently scarred. However, one question lingers. Can a man once born into power ever truly step out of the shadow of his own past? And how does he maintain his lavish lifestyle after stepping away from his royal privileges? The royal mystery that won't fade. Years after stepping away from public duties, the former Duke of York still enjoys a lavish life that seems far beyond his official income. The mystery is simple, but explosive. Where does all his money come from? Today, Andrew still lives in Royal Lodge, a 30-room mansion worth around $38 million, sitting on Windsor's green grounds. Despite having no official job, he keeps up an expensive way of life. Private cars, personal staff, and constant upkeep for the estate. His only declared income is a £20,000 yearly Navy pension, which barely scratches the surface of his expenses. So who's really paying the bills? The truth is that Andrew may have private backers, that is, rich associates who view millions as spare change. Some of them are said to be foreign businessmen with close ties to him from his past trade role, when he traveled the world representing British interests. Others believe his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, helps him stay afloat. She recently sold her Belgravia home for over $5 million and has her own business ventures. Still, there's no public record showing how Andrew maintains his wealth. Many of his companies, including one that handled private investments, quietly shut down earlier this year. Buckingham Palace has refused to comment, stating that Andrew is no longer a working royal. The British public, however, isn't staying silent. Many are outraged that a man with such a tainted past continues to live in luxury. Critics argue that King Charles acted too slowly to limit his brother's financial freedom. Even now, Some reports suggest Andrew is pushing for 2 royal residences as part of his exit deal. The numbers don't lie, and they don't add up either. Over the years, Andrew reportedly received about 13 million euros in official royal funds before his scandal erupted. When he stepped down, Queen Elizabeth is believed to have personally supported him until her death in 2022. After that, King Charles continued the private allowance briefly, but stopped it last year. Without that money, Andrew's current spending seems impossible to explain. Behind closed doors, royal aides admit the prince's future inside the monarchy looks bleak. Leaked documents show that even palace insiders knew after the Newsnight interview that his image was irrecoverable. By 2023, he was reportedly meeting with a Chinese businessman later accused of spying, deepening the cloud around him. The government has since banned that man from the UK. But this isn't Andrew's first brush with shady deals. Back in 2007, he sold his home, Sunning Hill Park, for far above its asking price to a Kazakh businessman tied to a former president. A deal many saw as suspicious. Around the same time, his friendship circles began including controversial figures from Libya and other nations. Some insiders believe this is when greed took over, opening doors to questionable money. Emails that surfaced this year make things worse. In one, from 2011, Andrew reportedly wrote to Epstein saying they were "in this together," despite publicly claiming he had cut all contact months earlier. Now, the fallen prince faces life outside the royal spotlight, still holding the keys to a mansion many believe he no longer deserves. As questions grow about his mysterious fortune, one truth remains. The public wants answers, and this royal mystery is far from over. Labour leader Keir Starmer publicly stated that the prince's finances deserve proper scrutiny, calling for full transparency over how he's able to find his lifestyle and housing. A group of senior members of Parliament has already begun pressing for answers, demanding more information about the source of Andrew's wealth and his continued occupation of Royal Lodge. Even members of the Conservative Party have joined the chorus of disapproval. Robert Jenrick, the Tory Shadow Justice Secretary, spoke out firmly this week. "It's about time Prince Andrew took himself off to live in private and make his own way in life," he said. "He has disgraced himself and embarrassed the royal family time and again. The public are sick of him. However, officials have refused to release documents that could shed light on the prince's mysterious financial and political connections." Historian Andrew Loney, author of entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, spent 4 years filing hundreds of information requests, all rejected. "It's clear there are barriers," Loney said, "and one must ask why." According to Loney, Andrew's relationships with wealthy figures were rarely built on friendship. They were transactions. Unlike other royals, Andrew wasn't known for strong business sense, so his appeal often lay in what his title could offer others: influence. Jeffrey Epstein was the clearest example. To Epstein, Andrew gave legitimacy. He gave royal access that helped the disgraced financier mingle with political and business elites. To Andrew, Epstein offered wealth and a lifestyle he had long desired. Their friendship was a dangerous trade, one where both benefited, but only one truly controlled the game. What other secrets about Prince Andrew's financial past are still buried behind palace walls? And when the truth finally surfaces, will it bring accountability or just another royal cover-up? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.